What's up, YouTube? C-Buzz Sports Cards here, and today we're going to talk about the PSA Vault and how you can use it to save money when you buy or make more money when you sell. So this is something that not everybody knows about, and it can offer you some pretty big advantages if you use it right. So here we go. Let's get into it. All right, what's up, guys? So today we're going to talk about the PSA Vault. It's not going to be a super long video. I'm hoping to keep this one a little bit short. We'll see. But yeah, let's just get ready to launch right into this. Before I do, I will mention I've got some giveaways that are ending, so I'm going to be announcing the giveaways probably on Monday or Tuesday. So Monday or Tuesday, I plan on doing another weekly card show this week in sports cards. And I'll probably announce the winners. I think I've got 3 giveaways that just expired. And I believe I'm giving away some Topps Chrome basketball blaster boxes. I don't remember the other ones. But anyway, Monday, Tuesday, I'll announce those. Just mailed off a bunch of packages yesterday for the last giveaways. So I did a big video announcing a bunch of different winners 4 or 5 days ago. What was it, like Tuesday the 12th, something like that. And it had most everybody reply, so I sent off I think 6 giveaway packages yesterday. So if you're one of the winners, keep an eye open. You should be getting your package sometime this week. Some were sent via UPS, others were sent via USPS, just depending on where you're at. But yeah, you'll be getting a little box. And if you hit something big, let me know. I hope you guys do. So anyway, let's get into the PSA Vault. Here we go. Pull up my screen. So what I should say, PSA, for anyone that doesn't know, which I'm sure 99% of you do, grading company, right? The premier grading company. That's how most of us know PSA. But they offer another service, and it's called the PSA Vault. And there are some reasons you may want to use this, right? And there are some ways it can save you money and help you make more money. And that's my goal. Is to hopefully show you guys this. So I'm going to just get eBay open here too, so bear with me. But here, we'll get back to PSA. So if we go to the services, you got the Vault, right? And you don't have to be a PSA member to use the Vault, right? And when I first heard about the PSA Vault, I was like, well, why would I want to use this, you know? It's like, well, okay, if you have expensive cards, yeah, you can store them in the PSA Vault, you know, and they'll hang on to them for you. But it's like, you know, I kind of like having my cards at my house so I can enjoy them. But I do vault some cards from time to time, depending, you know, I don't want to have too much value here. So like right now I've got a shipment of cards I'm going to send to the Vault. And I've got some other cards I'm getting ready to sell that I'm going to send to the Vault. And that's really the main reason I like to vault stuff, right? And I'm going to tell you why. So first thing, let's do this. Let's just go to eBay. Let's pull up, you know, like any listing. We'll just do whatever, Cooper Flag Auto. And I'm going to show you something here. So like, let's say you're going to buy, I'm just going to click on any random card, right? Let's say I was going to buy this card here, right? Well, this one's on bid. So we got to find a buy it now. Let me give you a better example. Here's a $2,500 or best offer, right? Let's say I was going to buy this card right here. I could save on sales tax by sending this to the PSA Vault, right? So I could hit send to PSA Vault. I don't want to vault future purchases. Now, I'm not actually going to buy this right now. But so I buy this and I ship it to the PSA Vault right down here. And look, there's no sales tax, right? So on this card here, I'd be saving, you know, it depends on where you're at, whatever. But in Minnesota, I think we're close to 10%, give or take, 9-10%. So I'd be saving $250, something like that, just in sales tax. And that's money that adds up, because in cards, the margins can be somewhat slim. Now, here's the beauty. Once you send it to the PSA Vault, you don't have to keep it there. right? You can take it out, and that's the whole point. So recently I've done this. I bought a Tom Brady Kaboom. I'll just show you guys. Let me just go like this. Let's go Brady. And here was a card I did this on just recently. Right here. Oh, let's view my order details. Right here. So someone had this listed. This one was even easier, right? So someone had this listed through the PSA Vault. And that's the other piece we're going to get into. So someone had this stored in their PSA Vault, and then they listed it for $6,500, and I bought it. And the cool thing about this was I bought it for $6,500, which was a solid price for this Tom Brady Kaboom and a PSA 9. And then I just transferred it from their PSA Vault into mine. So it said, you know, do you want to ship this home? If I was going to, I would have had to pay sales tax, or you can vault it. So I vaulted it, and within, I don't know, 5-6 hours, it showed up in my vault because they already had it, right? And then, the next day, I just withdrew it. I extracted it and sent it home, right? And to send it home, I think if you've had it in the vault for less than 90 days, they charge you something like $10-15 or so. It was a very small amount, right? To where it was like a no-brainer. And this is a card I want to enjoy. I don't plan on selling this anytime soon, so I wanted to see it, and I think I've got it somewhere behind. Yeah, it's right there behind me now. And I rotate cards in and out of this, and some of them, I keep locked up and things like this, so it just depends, but I like to have it full for the show. But yeah, so that card right there, it was great because being that it was in the PSA Vault, it didn't have to go through eBay authentication. I saved a bunch of money on the sales tax, transferred it to my vault, and then I shipped it home. I could have kept it in the PSA Vault if I wanted, but yeah, I shipped it home. It probably took a week or so to get it, maybe 8-9 days even, something like that. But yeah, and now I have it, right, in this card. So this is a great way to where, otherwise, if I bought this card for $6,500 on eBay, I would have paid probably another $650 in tax. So my cost on it would have been $7,250. And then if I want to sell it on eBay, the selling fee is like 12-13%. And I think that goes up to $5,000, and then after $5,000 it drops down to something different, but we'll pull it up. And so to break even on that card, if I bought it and sold it through eBay the standard way, I'd have to sell it at like $8,000, right? So that's the problem, is you buy a card for $6,500, and just to break even on it after sales tax from the purchase and then eBay seller's fee, that adds up to a pretty big amount. So $8,000 would be my break even, just to break even on it. So I haven't been buying a whole lot of graded cards. I like to buy raw, try to grade it, make my money there, and then either decide whether to sell it and flip or keep it from there, right? But this whole PSA Vault thing opens up a lot of opportunities, right? Now, the other big thing is when you sell through the PSA Vault, if it's a card over $5,000, you pay 7%. So that's another huge factor, right? So I've got some cards I'm getting ready to sell in this case behind me. I've got a Saquon Barkley Gold Downtown. I've got a Cooper Flag Silver Pack Rookie Auto, 10-10, graded 10 and then 10 on the auto. I think it's Pop 2. Probably $8,000-9,000 card. And if I sell that through eBay, they're going to be taking $1,000. Where if I send it to the PSA Vault, it's going to be half that. So my seller fee on that card will be $500 or something, right? And then I can actually list it for more of a premium price, because the buyer isn't paying sales tax if they choose to buy it through the PSA Vault and then vault it themselves, right? So that allows you to sell the cards easier because the buyer's getting better value. And then you can also capture some of that price or sell it for more of the high-end price of the market because the buyer's not paying sales tax. So like this is a big deal to me. It really works on both ends. But so anyway, yeah, here's the Tom Brady Kaboom, right? Bought it for $6,500, sent it to the vault, back to my house. It's here. You know that you're talking, you know, whatever within week and a half, 2 weeks total from the purchase time. And let's just go and look in my collection. And again, you don't have to be a PSA member. I'm not a PSA member. There's no reason to be right now, right? But if I go down, the cool thing is right now, that PSA 9 that I bought, PSA already has an estimate higher of 81.71 on that card. So I bought this a few weeks ago, and since I got it with no sales tax, I'm already past my break even, right? And this is PSA's estimate, right? They're saying 67.51 to 98.43. You know, I'm sure that sometime soon I could probably sell it for 8,500, right? So if I were to go and sell this card for 8,500, something like that, call it a $2,000 profit. PSA is going to take 7% of the 8,500 if I mail it into the vault and then you know, list it through them. So 7% is going to be, I don't know, $500. So on that deal, I would net $1,500. It'd be a $1,500 profit. So what this does is it just allows you to find graded cards that are already, you know, maybe a reasonable price, and you can flip online, right? You can buy it, vault it, list it through the vault, and you shrink the margins or you shrink the fees on both sides, both tax and sales fee on the buy side and the sell side. And so then it makes sense to where you can actually start to flip cards online and it works, right? Because otherwise the tax and the fees are just going to kill you and the buyer, right? Or you and the seller, depending on which side of the deal you're on. Yeah, and so like to send this to the vault, if I wanted to send it back in, I'd just go here, click send to the vault, which I'm not going to do right now, but yeah, I'd hit finish, and then it would give me the packing instructions, and boom, I mail it in. And the reason they're able to do all this is the PSA Vault's in Delaware. So Delaware is a state that doesn't have sales tax for items that are shipped into Delaware. They don't charge tax. Most other states do. Delaware doesn't. So huge tax advantage. That's how you're able to get around it. Now, as far as the seller's fees being lower, let's just look at PSA Vault seller fees. Here we go. So 5,000 above is 7%. 1,000 to 5,000 is 9 to 10%. So you save a little bit there. 500 to 1,000 is a 10 to 12%. 100 to 500 is 13%. Now, again, you're not saving a lot in fees if the card's 500 or below, right? But what you are doing is allowing the buyer to buy without tax. And again, in cards, when you're buying a $500 card, you know, you might be trying to sell it for 600 or 650, right? Or if you're buying raw and you need to grade it, but you know, maybe a 10 puts you up double and in the money, but a 9 is kind of like break even. Well, that saving on those fees are a big deal. You know, on a $500 card, 13% is, you know, I don't know, 60, 70 bucks, something like that. You know, on a $500 card, that's a sizable chunk, right? But then your tax is another 10%, right? So your tax is another 50 bucks on top of that, right? And those are the things eating into the sale. So if you can post it on the PSA Vault and let the buyer avoid or give them the option to avoid that sales tax, you're going to sell more cards, right? And look, I don't mind listing cards on eBay and selling them and packaging them. It doesn't bother me. You know, I've got a little system to pack cards up and send them off. But the nice thing is if you send to the vault and then you sell it through PSA Vault, all you do is click on sell it. They'll list it through eBay. You don't pay any additional eBay fees. It's just the PSA Vault fees. They have some deal set up. And then they'll pack it and ship it and deal with all that. They'll be the forward face to the client. You don't have to talk to the client, right? So to me, this is like a no-brainer. It's huge. It's something that I just don't see a better way at this point to buy and sell cards online, right? You know, if you're at a card show or whatever, that's a different thing, or you got a store, or, you know, whatever. There's different ways of doing it, you know, group chats and Facebook and Marketplace and this and that. But otherwise, to do it online, this is just, it's a great option, right? So there's your PSA Vault fees. Let's look at eBay's seller fees. So it's a little convoluted. I think they're typically around 12 to 13%. Here we go. Here we go. So it depends on the type of listing. So category, most categories. Let's see if they have trading cards or not. Sports memorabilia. Here you go. So right here, you've got 13.25% up to 7,500. Once it's over 7,500, you're at 2.35%, right? So some of these, you got to do the math. So it just depends how big the card is and whatever. But most of the time, it's just going to make sense to sell it through the PSA Vault. You know, there might be a situation where, you know, maybe if the card's 50 or $100,000 or something, maybe the eBay fees are less. I don't know. If I was selling a card that big, I would figure it out and get into it. But then you might be talking to an auction house or whatever. You got different options at that point. A lot of us aren't selling cards that big, at least on a consistent basis. You know, I'll sell stuff that's 10 to 15 grand. That's kind of the top of my end. But, you know, a lot of the cards I'm working with are really, you know, $1,000, couple $1,000, and then I've got a lot of stuff that's, you know, $50, $100, couple hundred. So, you know, it just depends. But yeah, so that's the eBay seller fee, 13.25% up to 7,500. But again, you know, if you're selling through eBay, the buyer, unless they send it to the PSA Vault and they have that option, they're going to be paying the sales tax. And if the card is in the PSA Vault, here's the other great thing. If you're trying to flip cards and you're buying a card, let's just find a card here on eBay that's in, let's go like Tom Brady auto. Yeah, look, here's a card in the PSA Vault. Tom Brady, 2008 Topps, it's autographed, right? So like right here, this is on bid, so let's see if we can find a buy it now, just so I can actually show you guys. A lot of these are all on bids. Well, here, we'll just look at their store, the PSA Vault. Let's pull up like, yeah, Tom Brady, why not? So here's a buy it now. Gem Mint 9 X-Fractor. I'm not going to buy this card right now, but yeah, boom. If it's in the PSA Vault, I could buy this right now. I could keep it in the PSA Vault. Okay, boom. No shipping, no sales tax. I would confirm this right here. And once I confirm, it would transfer to ownership into my PSA Vault. I would see it show up probably by the end of the day today or tomorrow in my PSA account. Once it shows up, I can then withdraw it. And then you'll pay a withdrawal fee of, you know, it's not much. It's like $5-10 or something like that. You know, it's not like a percentage or anything like this. And you don't pay the tax then. No, you don't pay the tax. It's not taxable. It's a non-taxable sale. So it's a big deal, you know. And like this card, let's say I was gonna buy, someone else had this card listed at $950, the same card, or there's this one for $1,000. Which one would I buy? Well, I'd buy this one for $1,000 actually, because once you add the tax on, this one would be less, you know, compared to the one at $950 if you added the tax. And then this card, I would end up getting it way quicker, because the other card that's not in the PSA Vault, they would have to send it to eBay authentication. And we all know that takes 2-3 weeks. And then, you know, whatever, I'd finally get the card. But I'd be paying for shipping and tax. And when you withdraw from the PSA Vault, yeah, there's a withdrawal fee. I think that's like $5 or $10, and then you pay shipping, and that's a really small amount too. It just depends. But it's, again, it's not expensive. It's the cheaper of most options by far. But anyway, so I don't know. Hopefully you guys kind of pick up what I'm laying down here. To me, this is just a huge thing. It's a huge tool to use. It provides a huge advantage when you're buying and selling, and it makes it possible to make money on cards where otherwise it would be pretty difficult, right? Because the fees and the tax eat up into your margins way too heavily, right? It's like, before I started doing this, it was like, okay, let's say I want to buy this Tom Brady card here at a 9. I really have to be certain that it's going to go up, you know, if I want to actually make money on it. You know, and look, there's sort of two aspects to this. There's collecting and having a collection. And I buy what I like. But the other factor that weighs heavily into that is I'm trying to buy stuff that I think is going to hold its value or go up, right? I don't want to buy a card for $1,000 that I think is going to be worth $100 in a few years. I don't care how much I like the card. I'm sorry. It's just bad business. It's a bad personal principle and a bad way to live your life. Like throwing money that you work too hard for down the drain, just down the toilet. It doesn't make sense, right? So I don't want to make it sound like cards are all about the money, but look, when you're spending this type of money on anything, it's a huge factor, right? And that's one reason I like cards. You know, I'm into other stuff too. I like, you know, watches and vintage guitars and all sorts of different things. But I like to buy stuff that I can enjoy, that I really like, but that's going to hold its value and either go up in value over time, or at least I can get my money back out of it. So I can enjoy it, but it's an asset, right? And not a depreciating asset. It's an asset that's going to hold its value or appreciate. And to me, that makes it more enjoyable anyway, because in the back of my mind, I don't feel guilty then about buying something that I feel like I'm wasting my money on. I actually feel, hey, that was a good purchase. I bought something, and you know, I get to enjoy it, and I appreciate this item or this thing or whatever it is. But I also know that in the future, if I want, I can sell it, and I'm going to be able to get my money back out of it, or maybe I'm going to make money on it potentially, right? So that's a reason, you know, that can't be ignored. It just can't be. Right? That is a reason why cards are a big deal. Now, we don't always know what's going to happen, if things are going to go up, down, this, that. Nobody knows, right? You have hunches, and there's market trends, and there's things that you can key in on, and like you can look at probabilities, and over time you can certainly, you know, probably make the right moves to, you know, guess the directions right and whatever, different things. But, you know, no one's going to be right all the time, every time. It doesn't work like that. Whether you're doing the stock market or cards or whatever, real estate, it doesn't matter, right? You're just trying to use probabilities. Things happen that are outside of our control. And, you know, with players, people get hurt, or they do something that ruins their legacy if they're retired. Or, you know, there can be economic downtrends, whatever. There's a million different things that can happen that are outside of our control. But anyway, I think you guys get the point that I'm making. You know, to me, it's smart to have a hobby and things you can do that you can enjoy. Or if you're spending your money, you still have a way to get your money back out of it. It's just a smart way to live your life, right? So people, you know, that, you know, there's some people that with card collecting, it's all about money. And look, I don't shame that. Like it can be a business. Why not? And then there's some people where it's the total opposite, and it's only about cards. And it's like, hey, look, that's cool too. I actually like cards. I genuinely do. But both those things have to merge and overlap. Otherwise, I'm not interested in doing this, right? I'm not the guy that where if cards were like, hey, go out and buy this card for $2,000, now it's yours, but like in the future it's worth nothing, I would not be interested. I wouldn't be making these videos. I wouldn't have any cards behind me because I don't like to throw money away, right? I'd rather keep my money and put it in something else where I have a good chance at growing it or making it back. Work too hard for it, right? So anyone that tries to say, people that talk about money and cards, don't actually care about cards, well, I don't know about that. If that's your standpoint and you just like the cards that much, hey, great, good for you. But to me, that's silly, right? There's a point where to ignore the financial component of this it's just naive, and it's narrow-minded and whatever. Everyone gets to live how they want. But all right, enough with that rant. I'm just trying to really drive home the point of why I think this is such a cool, big deal. Like, look, I am a small YouTube channel. I'm not a card store. I don't have an affiliation with PSA. I just started doing my first grades within the last year. I grew up collecting cards, loved baseball cards, basketball, Jordan stuff. I think I opened my first pack of cards in probably 1989. I remember 91 Topps when it actually came out. Now they're reissuing it, so it's funny to see those. And I had so many of those cards. 89 Donruss, I think Griffey's rookie year. And all that stuff through the 90s. And I remember by the late 90s, cards got pretty cool. I remember Topps coming out with the Mickey Mantle reprints and their refractors, and like reissuing the Bowman cards and all that. And that was a big deal at the time. Back in the mid 90s, I don't remember if that was like 96 or something, maybe something around there. And that was like a big deal. Like, hey, you could find this Mickey Mantle card. And back then, like, I wasn't really on the internet yet. It was there, but we didn't really know how to use it and like the full capabilities of it. So we'd message buddies and stuff. But like, we were looking at Beckett magazine. I had Beckett magazine. I'd pick one of those up every month at the card shop and kind of look at prices. And that's how we did the hobby. I never went to a card show when I was younger. Didn't know where they were at. You'd have to like find out about that stuff in the newspaper. It's not like it is today with the internet and instant information, that you can access anytime about anything. So I never graded cards. I'd go to card shops and then you'd see some of the graded cards and, whatever, but it was just different. I was, at that time I was a kid too, and I didn't have the money, and my parents, they did fine. We were like comfortable. We weren't rich, but weren't poor. And, but it's not like they were giving me a bunch of money to dump into cards. I'd do chores and stuff like that here and there. And, I'd go to the card shop and buy some cards. And by the time I got into high school, I was kind of like a little bit out of it. Not so much interested anymore, but, elementary and middle school for sure. And, I still bought some cards every once in a while. But once I was in high school, it was different, different interests, different things. And, and then so getting back into cards, I got back in 4 or 5 years ago when my kids were little. And I thought, they'll probably be into this. So, I started getting some cards a little early just because, I thought it was kind of interesting or fun. And, having been out of it for a long time, it was cool to see the new designs and this and that. So I started buying stuff 4 or 5 years ago and still never graded, just, never even sold a card really, up until within the last year. So yeah, it's been fun to get back into this. And, now I'm into buying and selling cards, and I've gotten heavy into grading. And the big thing to me is now the information is so much more accessible. It's just easier to get into. Where before the information, this stuff was harder to figure out. Now you've got people that make content, and you've got a lot of resources all over the internet. You've got AI. eBay has better tools where you can take a picture of a card and pull up other cards for sale to get comps and then look at the sold prices. And there's just that's a big reason, I think, for the card boom. I'll probably make a video about this in the future of why cards are booming, and I'll talk about why did cards decline during the COVID period, because I know exactly why they declined, and it wasn't just a card thing. Hint, hint. If you go back to, I think it was end of 2022, everything declined. There were leading indicators, so it wasn't unique to cards. So people that just think like this thing happened in a vacuum and it was just the card market went down, everything went down. The stock market did. Inflation was up. Interest rates started to rise. And then it dried up liquidity. People were risk off. And look, sports cards are a risk on asset. Okay. If money dries up, times get lean, times get tight, I can promise you we will see a pullback in sports cards. People are not going to be dumping huge money into sports cards. For the time being, things look fine, stable. It's a volatile economy and market, but all in all, it's fine for now, right? That could change, but until it changes, it's game on, right? But anyway, I might make a video about that coming up. I've had that on my mind about, what to watch out for, because there will be leading indicators from the economy as a whole that you'll be able to see, where if certain things happen, then you will have to be careful and expect a drawdown in card prices. I'm not saying a crash or a pullback like 2021 or whatever, but it just depends. It's something. It's something that you just have to watch. It's going to change every day or every week, every month. This is markets, right? Same as the stock market. One day it can look all clear, and then things change. And a few days later, there's new circumstances, new geopolitical risks. There's this, there's that. New economic numbers, and things change. So that's how it works. But anyway, kind of went on a different little rant there, but it all ties back to how, for me, if I'm doing cards, which I like, it also has to make financial sense. I've got to find ways of saving money where I can, so that way I can create the most value for myself as I can. And, if that's being able to eliminate taxes on the buy side, fees on the sell side, I'm all for that. You guys should be too, because otherwise it's money that you've earned and worked hard for that's just going right into someone else's pocket, where if you can save some of that, save it. Do yourself a favor. So I like this. I like the PSA Vault. I like what they're doing. eBay's fees are steep. They've gotten only steeper and steeper as time has gone by. So I think this is nice, and they take care of the shipping and everything. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of this. I've been using it. I just bought a big Jordan card, an 85 Jordan Star. It was about a 12K card, and I didn't have to pay sales tax on it because I sent it to the PSA Vault. And so I bought this card last weekend. It was just authenticated. It's a Beckett 8. And it is on its way to the PSA Vault. And once it gets there, I might keep it there for a while, or maybe I'll pull it out, enjoy it at home for a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But, I've got some other cards. I don't have them down here with me. I've got a pile of cards I'm going to send to the PSA Vault today, because I'm going to get ready to sell them. Graded them, done well. So should be able to make some good money on some of these cards. And I'm going to send them in and get ready to sell them. And pay 7% at the PSA Vault. So anyway, that's it. I'm gonna wrap this video up. Hopefully that's got some stuff that'll help you guys. I think the first half of the video is a little more informational, and that gets to the gist of the point. In the second half, I kind of went on my own little rants about some other things that tied into the topic. But I'm gonna wrap this up, guys. What's today? Saturday, August 15th. Should have this video posted here sometime today. As I'm making this, it's about 1:30 in the afternoon. So I'll probably have this posted by late Saturday afternoon if you're watching this. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Trying to keep the channel going. So I definitely could use the help. Keep an eye out for future videos. Keep an eye out for giveaways. I don't have a giveaway on this video, but I'll have more coming up soon. And then, we'll have the weekly This Week in Sports cards coming up on Monday or Tuesday. I'll be announcing some giveaways at that time. Giveaway winners. I'll probably have a new one as well for that show. And at some point, I'm going to unbox this Topps Resurgence. I don't know when, sometime soon. So this has just been kind of sitting here for a little while, but it's been busy. So that's it, guys. Have a good day. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good weekend. And let me know if you use the PSA Vault. Comment below. Curious to hear your insights. So, all right, guys. Bye-bye.